Hi everybody. So it's June 9th, 2018 at 12:14 p.m. It's Sunday, so happy Sunday. So given the title of this, you might be a bit put off, so I'm just gonna jump right in, and I don't want to piss anyone off, so I want to jump in and explain the title of my video so I can just explain where I'm coming from. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rylan. I am a mental health advocate, I'm a peer counselor, and I'm a trans activist. If you look at my YouTube channel, I have a lot of videos and specifically a playlist about my struggles with mental health. I also talk about what it's like to be transgender and the struggles that come along with that. And I'm also an actor, so I talk about that as well. But one of the main focuses of my channel is my advocacy for mental health and my struggles with it. And then I would say second to that is now me being trans. So this past week, we've had the passings of two high-profile suicides. We've had Anthony Bourdain, I don't know, that's not how you say his name, sorry, and Kate Spade, both passed away by suicide, I want to say a day apart this week. And with these high-profile suicides, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it, and I found that there's a trend. I mean, there is a contagion effect of when high-profile suicides happen, that a lot of suicides will spike up after that, kind of almost as copycats. And that in and of itself is extremely problematic, but I'm not here to talk about that today. What I'm here to talk about right now is something that really got my gears going and really made me think and question some things about how we react when there is a widely publicized suicide. I think it was someone on Twitter that made some comment about how people tend to share their own stories about mental health after one of these tragedies happen, because that's what suicide is. It's a tragedy. It's something horrific and sad and something that should not be overlooked. And this person was kind of, I don't want to say negative or snarky, but they kind of just were like, yeah, anyone can post the number for like the suicide hotline and you can share your story of when you were depressed, and just kind of like throwing shade at that. And that's all they said. And it kind of got me thinking that like I had read some people's comments, like specifically on my Facebook and otherwise, of people sharing their stories of depression and suicide. And it got me thinking specifically, like just now, like really thinking into it while my boyfriend was in the bathroom, and I was like talking through the door, like ruminating about this. And I was like, I think I have a lot to say about this, so I should make a video and get my voice out there, because here's where I'm at. My main question is why, and this is not a judgment, I would like to get this out there right away. This is not a judgment on anyone that decides to share their story. Because you're sharing it, you're getting it out there. And that takes bravery and strength. But my question is, why is it that so many people wait to share their stories of depression or mental illness in general until something tragic like this happens? And I just started questioning what it does for that specific human being to get that off their chest and to share that with people. What place is that coming from in that person specifically? I'm sure it differs. Is it coming from a place of wanting to be a beacon of hope for other people and say, this is where I was, you can get through it too? Is it coming from a place of, this is how much I hurt? Please acknowledge me? Is it coming from, maybe an unsavory part of like, look at me? Pay attention to me. How can I spin this around me? And I highly doubt, at least the people that I know that I've posted about this, that is not their intentions. But I just find it very interesting, the timeliness of this when people decide to open up about their struggles with mental health. As I said, y'all, look at my YouTube. I don't want to say all I do, but like most of my videos are about my struggle with self-harm and with other mental illnesses and stuff like that. And I would like to clarify, I do not think I am better, stronger, braver, whatever adjective you want to use, because I share my struggles on a daily basis and I'm very open about it in my writing and my YouTube videos. But I just wonder, why can't we have these conversations before something like this happens? What is it that people feel safer about when someone high profile happens to pass away? I'm just trying to understand the psyche and understand, is it that people feel comfortable now to be able to share their experience and see that maybe it's less stigmatized and they feel that it's okay to kind of poke their head out of that stigma closet and say, hey, this happens to me too. It'll be okay. I made it, so can you. And I guess I just wish that these brave people that are deciding to share their journeys with the world, because I've read some posts that are, kind of graphic in detail about their struggles. I just wonder, why can't we normalize the talk about mental illness and depression and suicide to a daily thing? Why does it just have to be when tragedy strikes? I just think, what would the world be like if we were all honest, for those of us that aren't neurotypical and struggle with a plethora of mental illness, whether it just be depression, or maybe you have obsessive compulsive disorder, or dissociative identity disorder, or bipolar, or an eating disorder, or the whole gamut of mental illnesses that exist. What would our world be like if those people that are deciding to share now were open about their struggles, maybe while they were happening or shortly after? I mean, me personally speaking for myself, I have videos of myself where I was talking about when I was in the deep depths of when I was self-harming. I cataloged my journey of my recovery of self-harming, and I think it's just really beneficial for people to know that these conditions exist, that people struggle with these kinds of things. And I think, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying I want more people to be like me because I'm whatever, but it's like, why don't we start these conversations sooner? Because how many people could be saved to know that Sandy on Facebook is struggling with depression, or that Vanessa, who you went to high school with, is struggling with a meth addiction? Why can't we talk about these things while they're happening? And I understand not everyone has the capacity, let alone the want, to share these struggles with people, because they're extremely personal. They're dark, they're ugly, there are sides of ourselves that we don't want to share and we don't want the world to see. But for those people that are willing and brave enough to share their stories with the world, I guess my question is, why now? Yeah, I guess, and it's not an attack. It's not that I necessarily want an answer. And I don't want this to be an attack, but I wonder why now, people feel the comfort to say things, because I think it is brave to be open about depression, but especially when it comes to something as serious as contemplating or attempting suicide. I think that is immense bravery to be able to announce that, to whether it's on YouTube and a bigger platform or your Facebook friends, which is more intimate. But I don't know. I guess I just wonder what the world would be like if we were all more open. And again, maybe not all of us, but what if we were all open? What if we normalized those thoughts that we have in our head that creep in and tell us that we're not good enough, or when you have anxiety that causes debilitating panic attacks, or you're struggling with PTSD, and we normalized those things, and you can look at your teacher on Facebook and say, oh wow, I didn't know that they were struggling with generalized anxiety disorder, so do I. Because I think, at least for me, one of the main, not factors, because obviously other stuff was going on, but a big part of feeling suicidal is that feeling of helplessness and loneliness, and feeling that the world would be better off without you, and believing that nobody can understand the immense amount of pain that you are under, because you believe that no one will be able to understand. And maybe you feel shame about that, so you keep your mouth quiet and you struggle in silence until you can't handle it anymore. And you attempt, and you either don't succeed or you do succeed. And I guess, I don't know, it just makes me really sad, and it makes me question things as to why can't we have these conversations more before something like this happens? There is nothing wrong with struggling with mental illness. There is nothing innately wrong with you. Mental illness is rampant, and there are so many people that don't have diagnoses. There are a plethora of people that seek out help through therapy, but there are so many of us that are walking around undiagnosed. And I guess just my whole wish for the world, and I will end my video by saying this, is that if you struggle with mental illness, or you even know someone that does, the fact that that person is still alive in this moment and is still breathing, they are a fucking warrior and a survivor. Because when you struggle with something like depression or bipolar that affects your moods and brings them down to a depressive level, being alive and breathing the air around you on a daily basis is a struggle. While you may not be in the pits of despair, or that person that you look at may seem fine, that doesn't mean that they haven't contemplated suicide. And I read something that on paper is really funny, but also horrendously tragic. The quote was, "Not killing myself is a personal achievement, but you can't really brag about that at dinner parties." I think there's something so beautifully poetic and melancholy about that statement, because yeah, imagine a world where you could talk about that. Imagine you at a dinner party and someone says, "How have you been? I haven't seen you in a while." And you could openly say, "I've really been struggling with depression. I've really been struggling with XYZ, but you know what? I'm here, I'm fighting it, and it's still a struggle." Or, "I've really been struggling with self-harm for the past 3 years, but I'm getting better." What would a world be like if we were able to talk about those things? And I guess I don't have a plight, I don't have a suggestion, I'm not begging anybody to do anything, but I think it's food for thought to think about, what could the world be like? What could we gain from that? And I guess my main question is, why wait? The weight of words and people sharing their stories, I think, is beyond words and insurmountable of how much that can save someone, which is why I use my platform as a YouTuber to talk about my experiences with mental health, because I know from the comments and the messages that I get from people and simply just looking at the views that I get, that I am not alone, and neither are you. And I guess in summation, what I'm trying to say is, no one is ever alone in what you are feeling. There has been someone else that's experienced it. And I guess I just wish that we lived in a world where people didn't have to feel the need and that safety net to be able to come clean and have their struggles be seen and validated because someone else took their own life and was no longer able to continue. That's all I have to say about the issue, but it's been something that's been in the back of my mind, but really came to the forefront of my mind like 15 minutes ago when I started making this video. So I hope this isn't controversial. I hope anyone who has made a status like this and has come forward and shared their brave stories, or if you posted the number for the suicide hotline, you're doing your part. But again, why wait? What are we waiting for? Think of how many lives you could be potentially saving, or others could be saving, if we just decided to be open and say, "I'm not ashamed. I'm a human. I'm flawed. I'm struggling, and that's okay, but I am still fucking here."